It's 2 a.m. and I've been working on a minigame all night. I get an email and look at my grades when I realize the severity of my actions. This game might have cost me my future. Now, what kind of game would make me sacrifice my degree over? Minecraft minigame, based on a Roblox game. Yeah, I'm fucking stupid. Now, to understand why the hell I would sacrifice a diploma on a Minecraft minigame, let's go back to April 2025. At the time, my friends and I had been playing a Roblox game called Fortune Fighters. This was a fun, round-based, free-for-all game. Everyone would duke it out, and then all the losers would get abilities, and the winner would get nothing, and then go around until someone won enough games. Now, this was a really fun concept, and we enjoyed it a ton. Until we had done everything there was to do. We had tried every possible combination, we tried all the cool things. Now, I like Minecraft PvP, so I thought, why don't I just make it in Minecraft? I've got the skills to do it. So that's when I started making Altered Combat. Now, I was really motivated, so I added a ton of perks called alterations. I made one where you explode at half health. I made one that had a permanent totem. I made one where when you use an ender pearl, you get extra damage. Basic defense. You get snowballs that pull people in. A arrow shot that freezes people in place. Sneaking makes you invisible. You can take fall damage and distribute that damage to players nearby. Having more arrows in your opponent makes you do more damage. I had perks that make you shoot a super charged beam cannon. I had a mace. And I even had perks that made you larger with more defense or smaller with less. Now that's a lot of things I added, and they didn't come without a cost. With the addition of all these perks, I ignored something very important. So as a student in college, the month of April was very busy for me. Tons of homework, tons of tests, tons of projects. There was always something to do in April. Now the problem is I was so motivated to add things to this game, I was just skipping out on all my schoolwork. Now I'm a responsible individual, so I did what was best for me. I continued working on the game, neglected my homework, half-assed all of my projects, and didn't study for the test. So that's when we got back to where the intro started. 2 a.m. working on my project, or almost. I wasn't really checking my grades at that point, but I was very well aware that things weren't going well with all these missing assignments. So fast forward a bit to early May. This is when homework started becoming an issue, and I started to come to terms with my actions. So, of course, school would end around halfway through May, and final exams would happen then. So I am behind on most of my homework assignments, and the projects were done. I did poorly on them, but those classes, they're passed. Like, I passed the class. I did fine. I did well enough. But here's the thing. I had 2 classes left. One, I have 9 missing assignments, probably more. And the other one, I have 2 tests to study for. Now, here's a little bit of information. Usually as a student, I do really well on all the early classes. But everything later on, I can kind of push aside or not worry too much about because I've got enough of a cushion to grade it. But this time, I failed my first test, and there were barely any grades to make up for it. So this class, the one I have to study for, I'm pulling a very healthy C+. Now, of course, I just continued procrastinating until about a week until classes ended. That's when I kicked it into high gear. Now, you know how I said I had 9 missing assignments from that class? Yeah, it was 9 weeks of missing assignments. And I had to do that all in a single week. So I asked my teacher for a few extensions, and I blitzed through all that as quickly as possible. I got a B, by the way. Now, after doing all of this homework, I only have a few days before the test happens. And, you know, I could study, or I could work on the game. So I worked on the game for the next 3 days, and then the exam came up. I took the exam, did okay, at least I felt like it. So, already a bad start. But at least the test was over, so, you know what I did? I went right back to the game. And about at this time, the game was actually playable. It had a round system, you could choose your abilities, everything was working nicely, you could actually play the game and enjoy it. And I was feeling rather content, but my actions were still looming over my shoulder. Even though I completed my tests, and the game was playable, there was still this impending doom feeling coming. Graduation was very soon, and I still had no idea if I had passed that test. So, fast forward a bit, and graduation happens. But here's the thing. Going to graduation doesn't mean I get my diploma. So as of now, my game still might have cost me my future, and I have no idea until late June. So, I did what any sane person would do. I continued working on the game. Yeah, the motivation lasted for more than 2 months. I don't know how that happened. Fast forward again. The game's in a great playable state. There's over 60 perks. They're now called alterations. The game is fun. We played it quite often. It was an enjoyable time. And that's when the grades came in. And I got a D+ on the final exam, bringing my grand total grade for that class up to still a C+. Now, as a kid, this would have traumatized me. As a tired college student who spent the last 3 months not giving two fucks about what happened to my grades, I was thrilled. I got the funny piece of paper that says I'm educated, and I have an entire mini game I can play. This is a win-win. So, moral of the story is, moral of the story is kind of like follow your dreams and ignore school. Do your homework, guys. It's not worth the stress. But there's no moral. I hope you guys enjoyed.